The Los Angeles Lakers are running out of time. With only 24 regular season games left on the 2025-26 schedule and the team caught in a 3-game losing streak, the pressure is mounting not just on the court, but off it as well. Questions about the future of LeBron James, one of the most decorated players in league history, are growing louder with every passing day, and some of the most pointed criticism is now coming from within the Lakers family itself. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates. Former Lakers guard and 3-time NBA champion Byron Scott made headlines this week after appearing on Power 106, where he didn't hold back when discussing James. Scott, known for his straightforward personality and deep ties to the franchise, took aim at recent comments made by the veteran forward that compared the difficulty of playing in today's NBA to that of the 1980s era. According to Scott, the suggestion that the modern game is tougher than the physical brand of basketball played during the Showtime era was simply not credible. Scott made clear that he considers James one of the all-time greats, but he wasn't willing to let the era comparison slide without a fight. He pointed to the physical style of play that defined basketball in the 1980s, noting that the game was far more contact-heavy and brutal than what players experience in today's NBA. He referenced the philosophy often attributed to legendary Lakers announcer Chick Hearn, no blood, no foul, as a vivid example of just how different the competitive landscape was back then. Players were expected to absorb heavy contact, get back on their feet, and continue playing without drawing free throws at every opportunity. The physicality demanded of players in that decade simply has no modern equivalent, Scott argued. And hearing one of the game's greatest ever players suggest otherwise struck him as laughable, a word he used without hesitation or apology. But the era debate was only part of what Scott addressed during his appearance. He also tackled the ongoing and increasingly urgent speculation about James's future with the Lakers. His answer when asked whether he was ready to see LeBron leave was direct and unambiguous. Scott said this season should be James's last in Los Angeles. Not necessarily the end of his playing career, but firmly the conclusion of his chapter with the purple and gold. He delivered the message with his trademark candor, making it clear that while he remains a fan of LeBron the player and appreciates what he has brought to the game, change is necessary and long overdue for both parties. Those comments carry added weight given the timing. The Lakers have dropped 3 consecutive games and are dangerously close to slipping out of a comfortable playoff position in the Western Conference standings. Head coach JJ Redick's squad has shown worrying defensive lapses throughout the 2025-26 campaign, and the team's chronic inability to close out competitive games has become one of the defining and troubling patterns of this season. The NBA playoffs are scheduled to begin on April 18th, and with each passing game, the window for course correction is narrowing considerably. For James himself, who turns 42 in December, the circumstances surrounding his tenure in Los Angeles appear to be approaching a natural conclusion. He continues to perform as a starter and remains a relevant offensive force at 41 years old, which is remarkable by any standard. But the organizational relationship appears strained, and sources close to the situation suggest both sides are quietly bracing for a separation. Whether James ultimately decides to retire or seeks a fresh start elsewhere in NBA free agency this summer remains the central question, but a return to the Lakers in 2026-27 looks less and less likely with each passing week. Byron Scott played a foundational role in some of the Lakers' most storied moments. His voice carries genuine credibility within the franchise's culture and fan base, and his willingness to speak plainly about James reflects a growing consensus among former players and basketball observers. The partnership between LeBron and Los Angeles has simply run its natural course. Barring an unexpected reversal of fortune over these final 24 games, the end of this chapter appears to be inevitable. The only real question left is how it ends, and what comes next for a franchise that must now begin thinking seriously about life after LeBron James. The broader narrative surrounding the Lakers this season has been one of unfulfilled promise and growing frustration. The roster built around James and Luka Doncic, the young Slovenian star who was acquired to lead the franchise into its next era, has not found its rhythm, and the team's defensive struggles have undermined whatever offensive firepower the squad has been able to generate. There are still talented players on this roster capable of making a difference when the moment calls for it, but consistency has been painfully elusive throughout the season. Without a dramatic turnaround in the weeks ahead, the Lakers could face a humbling postseason exit that only accelerates the organizational reckoning that seems to be looming regardless of how the playoffs unfold. What is clear right now is that the conversation about James's future is no longer just background noise. It has moved to the center of every discussion about this team, this city, and this franchise. And with voices like Byron Scott now publicly calling for change, the debate is only going to get louder as the regular season approaches its conclusion. The Los Angeles Lakers dropped their third straight game on Thursday night, falling 113-110 to the Phoenix Suns in a defeat that felt especially painful given the circumstances. The Suns were playing without their two leading scorers, yet they still managed to beat a Lakers team that had every reason to come out with urgency and instead looked flat and disconnected in the game's most crucial moments. The loss left Los Angeles looking vulnerable at exactly the wrong time of the season, with the playoff race heating up and the standings growing more contested by the day. The final sequence of the game summed up the Lakers' struggles perfectly. Guard Austin Reeves had an open look at a three-pointer in the closing seconds, a shot that would have tied the game and forced overtime, but the ball rimmed out, sealing another frustrating defeat. It was the kind of gut punch ending that sticks with a team long after the buzzer sounds, and it was not lost on anyone in the Lakers locker room just how costly that missed opportunity might turn out to be. In the aftermath of the loss, Reeves addressed the media and offered what he believes is the only realistic path back to consistent winning, controlling what is within the team's power to control. He pointed to a pattern he has noticed across these three losses, where small moments, seemingly minor plays that might be easy to overlook in the grand sweep of a 48-minute game, have consistently swung the outcome against the Lakers. A careless turnover that leads directly to an easy bucket on the other end, an offensive rebound surrendered because a player fails to box out with proper effort. A loose ball that should belong to the Lakers but ends up in the hands of the opponent because someone was half a step slow to react. These are the kinds of plays that individually might seem minor, but strung together over the course of a game, they create massive momentum shifts that prove impossible to overcome. Reeves acknowledged that it's tempting to focus entirely on the big moments. The missed three-pointer at the buzzer, the game-winning shot the Suns hit from beyond the arc. But he believes the real story of this losing streak is written in the smaller details that accumulate throughout each game. Every single possession matters. One small mistake, one brief lapse in concentration can ignite the opposing team, energize a hostile crowd, and completely flip the emotional dynamic of a game. The Lakers have been on the wrong end of those momentum swings far too often over the past 3 nights. What makes Reeves' message particularly significant is that he is essentially calling on his teammates to raise their baseline level of effort and attention on every trip down the floor, regardless of the scoreboard. Intensity and focus are things a team can choose to bring every single night. They are not dependent on whether the opponent is healthy or short-handed, whether the crowd is loud or quiet, whether the shots are falling or not. The Lakers have allowed too many of these controllable factors to slip away from them during this stretch, and Reeves believes that locking back in on those elements is the first and most important step toward turning things around. Reeves was also candid about his own emotional state following the defeat. He admitted plainly that his frustration level is extremely high right now, and given what was at stake in the closing seconds of this game, that reaction is completely understandable. He is a player who prides himself on being available in clutch situations, and Thursday night's outcome will sting for a while. But his response to the adversity and focusing on what the team can correct rather than dwelling on the result reflects the kind of leadership mentality the Lakers need from him right now. The bigger picture for Los Angeles is genuinely concerning. At a point in the season when teams typically find their best basketball and begin peaking ahead of the postseason, the Lakers are trending in the opposite direction. They are losing games they should be winning, struggling defensively, and showing an alarming inability to finish close contests. Head coach JJ Redick and his staff will need to find answers quickly because time is running short. The NBA playoffs begin on April 18th, and with each defeat, the Lakers' positioning and confidence both take a hit. The message from Reeves is clear: stop the spiral by fixing the small things first. Whether the team heeds that message over the next few weeks will likely determine just how far this playoff run goes, or whether it ends before it even gets started in any meaningful way. Beyond the immediate loss, the broader implications of this slump are hard to ignore. The Lakers entered the 2025-26 season with genuine postseason ambitions, and there are still enough games remaining for the team to right the ship, but the window is closing. Falling further in the standings risks putting Los Angeles in play-in tournament territory, which would create an even steeper path to a deep playoff run. Every game from this point forward carries extra weight, and the Lakers simply cannot afford to keep dropping winnable contests against shorthanded opponents. The difference between a team that figures things out in time and one that collapses down the stretch often comes down to exactly what Reeves described. The little things, the controllable moments, the plays that never make the highlight reel but decide games all the same. Right now, those plays are deciding games against the Lakers, and something has to change. Dwight Howard is not done with the NBA. Or at least, that is what the 3-time Defensive Player of the Year wants the basketball world to know. The 40-year-old former center, who was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame last year, both as an individual honoree and as a member of the celebrated 2008 United States Olympic team known as the Redeem Team, took to social media on Thursday to make a pointed statement about his playing status. Howard's message was simple and direct. He has not retired, and he wants one more opportunity to play in the league he dominated for the better part of a decade. The trigger for Howard's public declaration was the signing of Taj Gibson, also 40 years old, by the Memphis Grizzlies on Thursday. Seeing a player his age earn an NBA contract was enough for Howard to speak up. He also referenced Al Horford, who will turn 40 in June and is currently still playing for the Golden State Warriors, as further evidence that age alone should not be a barrier to remaining in the league. If Gibson and Horford are still getting opportunities at 40, Howard's argument goes, then there is no logical reason why he should be sitting on the sidelines. Howard last played in the NBA with the Lakers during the 2021-22 season, his third stint with the Los Angeles franchise. After that run ended, he played professionally overseas with the Taoyuan Leopards in Taiwan, but his Hall of Fame induction did not mark the end of his competitive ambitions as many assumed it would. He is now publicly signaling that he wants a farewell tour in the NBA, a proper send-off that would allow him to say goodbye on the league's biggest stage rather than quietly fading into retirement without ceremony. For Lakers fans, Howard's relationship with the franchise is a complicated but ultimately rewarding one. His first stint in Los Angeles during the 2012-13 season was defined largely by friction and disappointment. His dynamic with Kobe Bryant was famously difficult. The two stars clashed repeatedly, and the partnership never produced the results the organization had hoped for. Howard left for the Houston Rockets in free agency following that single turbulent season, and many Lakers supporters were relieved to see him go. He then returned for a second stint in 2019, and this time the experience could not have been more different. Playing a supporting but vital role alongside LeBron James, Howard became a crowd favorite at Crypto.com Arena and contributed meaningfully to the Lakers' 2020 NBA championship run in the bubble. That redemption arc transformed his standing with the fan base completely. He returned for a third stint in 2021-22, but departed again when his contract expired, eventually heading overseas. The idea of Howard returning for a fourth stint with the Lakers is an intriguing one to consider, though it is extremely unlikely to happen. The Lakers roster is essentially set for the remainder of the 2025-26 season, and general manager Rob Pelinka has shown no indication that the team is looking to make additional roster moves at this stage. The franchise is already dealing with enough challenges without adding a 40-year-old center who has been out of NBA competition for several years. The current version of the Lakers, under head coach JJ Redick, needs players who can contribute immediately on both ends of the floor within a system built around Luka Doncic and LeBron James. That said, Howard's desire for a farewell tour resonates on a human level. He was one of the most physically dominant players of his generation, a force of nature at center who rewrote the standards for what that position could look like in the modern era. 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 8 All-Star selections, and a championship ring are a legacy that demands a proper conclusion. Whether any team in the NBA is willing to give him that opportunity remains to be seen, but Howard has made his intentions unmistakably clear. The Basketball Hall of Fame may have his plaque, but Dwight Howard still has unfinished business on the court, and he wants the chance to write one final chapter in the league that made him a star. Ironically, Howard's public plea came on the same night the Lakers were struggling defensively against a shorthanded Suns team. The franchise could certainly use a presence in the paint capable of altering shots and protecting the rim with genuine intensity, something the current roster has lacked at various points this season. DeAndre Ayton, who has been the team's primary option at center, delivered a forgettable performance in Thursday's loss. That juxtaposition, Howard publicly asking for a chance while the Lakers crumble in the front court, adds a layer of irony to an already compelling story. But roster logistics aside, Howard's message carries weight beyond any single team's needs. He is reminding the NBA world that some competitors simply refuse to accept that their time has passed, even after the Hall of Fame comes calling. And in a league where James is still starting at 41 and Horford is contributing at 39, that argument is harder to dismiss than it might seem on the surface. Howard's farewell tour ambitions may or may not find a home, but his passion for the game is as unmistakable as it ever was during his peak years patrolling the paint in Orlando, Los Angeles, and everywhere in between. The basketball world is watching to see if any team answers the call.